Views expressed in the videos are my observation, analysis of events, persons based on principles of astrology. It's not my intent to predict, forecast absolute outcomes, only suggest how they may unfold. Nothing is set in stone. I could be wrong, but often I'm right. My desire is not to promote fear, only inform about what we see unfolding. It is our wish to prepare our subscribers for events that could affect them, their family, their goals, and their future, to help to prepare for what you may already suspect is happening, and to send a warning shot across the bow and raise a flag of concern. Our goal is to help, not hinder, in these perilous times, to inspire and offer possible direction, and to reveal that a greater plan and purpose are behind all that is happening. Eventually, we will see a brighter day. If you would like to show your appreciation for our work on these videos or this channel, and also the Knowing Whispers channel, you can always click on the word thanks at the bottom of all the videos. Hello everybody, it's Robert Cosmar of the Astrology of Life YouTube channel and the 3 newsletters in Substack. One is called Knowing Whispers Messages from the Universe, and another is called Astrology, or not Astrology, but Trump and America, and then the last one is Ask the Astrologer. Today I'm going to show you a series of images of charts, and I want to talk relatively slowly here, more so than what I normally do when I do a video, about all of the dynamic factors that are going on in Donald Trump's world right now. Most of you have been watching the news and you see what's going on. You have a sense that something big has changed, something big has happened. And the question that you're probably wondering is this it? Is Trump at the point where he's finished? And I can't say at this point that that's absolutely the case, but I can talk about the horrible month of August that he's about to have, and talk about where these particular situations could develop, and then how this might impact him. There is a change that is going on inside Donald Trump. He is very much becoming more and more aware that the armor of his bravado, the luck that he has counted on for a good majority of his life, is starting to fade away. And he's struggling, particularly with this change in the Democratic candidate for presidency. He's struggling to be able to formulate an attack plan that actually is going to work. In other words, to use a terminology that a lot of times people use, he's lost his mojo. And we can only hope that he continues to lose that mojo as we move towards the election. But there could be some interesting things going into the election that, even what I'm talking about right now, the dynamics for that may not be clearly known. Okay? What I want to do here in the first image that I'm showing you, this is Donald Trump's natal horoscope. This is the aspectarian. And I want to draw your attention over here to his Saturn. His Saturn is in the 11th house. It is conjunct his Venus. Saturn, of course, represents limitation, hurdles, obstacles, strife, you name the whole thing. Saturn does it. It's the planet that represents our karma, where we have karmic issues to deal with, to resolve. And it's conjunct his natal Venus, all right? And it makes for a very cold feeling person. I mean, obviously, if you've been watching Donald Trump over the last 6 years or so, your opinion of him, if you're not a MAGA follower, is that this guy is really messed up about everything from women to life in general to the everyday person. So Saturn is going to play a very big part here in what is coming down the road this month, and it begins around the 13th of August on through the 19th, and oddly enough, it coincides with the Democratic National Convention. Now, whether that triggers something in him, whether he misbehaves in a way that makes his supporters, his financial backers, want to give up on him and make a change is hard to say. But it's very possible that his behavior, the way that it's going right now, is causing serious doubts about his ability to win the election. And there are enough people out there with a lot of money and a lot of interest towards the future that still want him to win the election. And Elon Musk, of course, is one of those. But I wanted to set the stage here because for those of you that are astrologers, for those of you that have been astrologers for a long time, what I'm going to say you already know. For those of you that are interested in astrology, for those of you that are beginning. In the beginning, it's very difficult to see the chart as a whole because your awareness and your feeling nature has probably not been developed enough to be able to see and trust what you're seeing. In the beginning, you pretty much learn it from your mind. You read books, you watch tapes, you listen to other astrologers and things like that, and you pick up a sense of what the chart actually represents. But over time, if you are meditating in particular, your sense and your awareness of a horoscope begins to expand. It goes beyond the level of your mind and of your logic and reasoning, and it begins to incorporate how all this fits together in one big whole. Okay? How this particular chart represents universal energy manifesting in a birth for a particular purpose. And it incorporates in it karma, destiny, okay, and fate. All of these things are locked within a horoscope. And the more that you become consciously aware, the more you're going to be able to see this and understand this. And this is how you can not only grow as an astrologer, but how you can help others to gain insight into the karmic factors in particular in their life. Okay? Donald Trump, after all this time and everything that he's been through, is definitely going through a karmic lesson of his life. And his ego, okay, which we see manifesting constantly, is taking a beating. And the question is it possible that through all this devastation, that somehow, some way, this might be a moment in Donald Trump's life where he finally gets it? He finally has a massive, major change. It's not impossible, okay? It's unlikely, but it's not impossible. And of course, despite the fact that he has created so much suffering, I don't think that anybody takes great pleasure in watching somebody unravel, whether it's mentally, emotionally, or physically. All right? So let's move beyond the basic natal chart here and go to the chart that shows his natal chart here on the inside and the transits. All right? This transit is for August the 13th. And the thing that is important here to see is that transiting Saturn in his 7th house is going to square his very powerful Uranus in his 10th house. Okay? Uranus, his career, his profession, okay? The thing that he aspires to do. Saturn is squaring that. And what this does is that this is going to put a tremendous limitation and restriction on him in some way, shape, or form. You can see transiting Jupiter and Mars are up here. Okay? And that they are conjuncting this Uranus. But we also, again, have Saturn down here squaring his natal Uranus and also squaring, transiting Mars and transiting Jupiter. So whatever benefit this Jupiter-Mars conjunction, whatever plans he may dig up to try to get things going in his campaign, is going to be halted probably by his relationship with others. Okay? Now, the other thing to take into consideration here, besides the aspects here, are the houses that rule, that these planets rule. Uranus rules his 7th house and his 6th house of health. Okay? Saturn rules his 5th house. This is the house of children. It's the house of creative expression. All right? It's possible that in some way, shape, or form, The reason why he has stopped doing these rallies is that he's really at a loss from the standpoint of his own creative deviousness as to how to proceed, how to attack Kamala Harris. And most likely he's spending a considerable amount of time trying to devise in his mind and awareness how it is that he can go about changing things back in his favor. And you're seeing here over the last month or so why I had mentioned months ago this was going to be a very turbulent and crazy summer with things just changing on a dime, and us being high in our emotions one week and then down in our emotions the next week. And it's all because of the fact that we're talking about karma here. We're talking about not about our emotional wants and desires, but about how this fits into the greater plan of the evolution of humanity. Okay? And we have to be strong enough consciously to be able to accept whatever comes down the road. Okay? Whatever. Because that's the only way to be able to resolve the emotional turmoil and the mental strife that this yo-yo back and forth situation can bring to us. Okay? All right, let's go forward here. Another chart that'll have some aspects into it. All right, several things here to point out that are significant about, again, this time. And I'm pinpointing here August the 13th, 2024. All right, you can see here that Uranus is stationary. When planets are stationary, they are the most powerful. Okay, they bring, in some cases, very startling results. Okay, I mentioned a little bit ago that this Jupiter-Mars conjunction here, however, it is squared by this transiting Saturn. So his ability to be able to do anything with that Jupiter-Mars is going to be impacted by his relationship with others. Okay, possibly not only his MAGA support, but also the people that are backing him financially. There was, for me, a inclination to think that when I compared Elon Musk's chart against Donald Trump's chart, that he has a distinct advantage over Donald Trump financially. Okay, and most likely, although Trump probably would like to bluff him, he's not going to be able to do it too far because Trump doesn't have the money Elon Musk has. And according to what I've been reading here lately, Musk is still sticking with Trump for whatever reason, no doubt for financial gain for his business interests. Okay? Now, I mentioned this before in a couple other videos, but I want to bring this up again. You can see here that Neptune has gone into his 8th house. This is the house of other people's money. It's the house of major transformations. It's the house of psychic experiences. Okay? The main thing to understand here in terms of what is going on with Donald Trump mentally and spiritually is that he's probably beginning to doubt himself. He's probably beginning to doubt his confidence. Okay? This situation of Kamala Harris coming in and Biden stepping out was totally a curveball that neither him nor his team was prepared to deal with. And they still haven't figured out how to do it. Okay? They're still getting beaten up in the news cycle. Okay? And it seems like that some of the news services and stuff are finally starting, to point out the flaws of Donald Trump and to talk about how absolutely fantastic it is what's happening with Kamala Harris and her VP selection, Tim Walz. They've raised over $300 million since that, putting her out there in that position. So it's just a tremendous reversal in the energies, and it brings a lot of hope. Okay. But as I've mentioned before, don't go to sleep on this because we've got 3 months. We've got 3 months. And there is more dark potential, okay, that could come to play in here. And it may not be Trump that brings the dark potential, okay? We'll just have to see. But this position here of Neptune in the 8th house, well, it can represent the dissolving of his wealth, either legally or otherwise. It also is going to create within him a sense of introspection, okay, of looking at what all that he's done his entire life has brought him to, okay? It's not impossible for Donald Trump to have some kind of come to Jesus moment. It's somewhere in the process of all this, all right, or some kind of an awakening, totally unexpected, all right, that could come into play here and how things develop down the road. We'll just have to wait and see. Pluto down here, as I mentioned before, okay, it's retrograde at the moment, but it's close to the sixth house cusp, and it will move eventually into the sixth house cusp in 2025. Of course, this is health. All right, it's also related to service to others and also work. Okay, Mercury will be retrograde, okay, on the 13th, and it's in his first house. He will want to communicate. He will want to talk. All right, but it's very possible that either he will flub up some of the things he's talking about, or that his overall timing and understanding may be wrong. Maybe his dementia will flare up and become worse, and it'll become more obvious to, you know, humanity at that point in time. He is, in a sense, falling. And again, whether he completely falls down or not is really not determined at this particular point. I fully believe that Donald Trump, if he pays the price, is fully capable of creating a situation that could reverse the circumstances that he's facing right now. But it's hard to say whether or not he wants to pay that price. Now, let's take a look here at the other energies that are going on. Mars, transiting Mars, is going to be opposing his moon. All right, he's going to be angry. He's going to be aggressive. Another interesting factor here in all this is that transiting Mars is going to be conjuncting Uranus. Now, you remember that Mars, when he was in that situation of being an attempt of an assassination was placed upon him, transiting Mars squared his Mars. Okay? In this case, it is conjuncting, all right, Uranus. I believe it was conjuncting Uranus by transit when that happened. Okay? But now it is conjuncting his natal Uranus. So the question is this setting up a possible stage for another assassination attempt possibility? Okay? His planets, his stars, so to speak, at this particular time are not good at all. All right? Jupiter is conjuncting his Uranus, as I had mentioned. Okay? Again, Saturn does square this, so whatever it can do probably is going to be somewhat neutralized. Okay? When you are reading a chart, the important things to consider besides what's obvious, which is the signs, the planets, and the houses and the aspects, is that you have to look at the degrees of the aspects. Okay? You have to take into consideration them, and then you also have to look at the houses that those planets rule. Because the entire whole event of anything that happens in a person's life depends upon everything in a chart. It depends upon the houses, the planets in the houses, the signs, the rulers, the degree of separation. Okay? All of those things have to be taken into consideration, and the difference, if you don't take that into consideration, is that your evaluation, your speculation, okay, could be way off. The intensity could be way off of an event, or actually what happens could be way off. So again, for those of you that are learning astrology or that are curious and stuff, this is something that over time you begin to see. You realize from your own failures and your own mistakes in readings that you miss something. And what you're generally going to miss is the closeness of the planets and aspect. Okay? It could be whether they're stationary or they're retrograde, things like this. All of these things have to be taken into consideration to get an accurate impression of what it is that is manifesting. Okay? You can, you know, it's kind of like throwing darts at a dartboard. All right? Most people can throw darts at a dartboard. They'll hit it. They may not hit the center, okay, but they hit the dartboard. And sometimes that's all you can do, okay? Really skilled, okay, people in that particular realm of sport very accurately can hit the bullseye, okay? So if you want to hit the bullseye and you are learning astrology, or you are trying to understand why something didn't happen the way you thought it would, You have to go back and painstakingly look at the planets, the houses they rule, the aspects they're having, the natal condition of the planets. Okay, are they retrograde, stationary direct, stationary retrograde? Okay, all of these things can give you a clue as to the strength of the manifestation of the energy of an event. Okay, you can also see down here that Saturn is still squaring his sun and his moon. This definitely takes the luster right here. It's squaring his natal sun and his natal moon. Okay, it's not exact within 1 degree, but it's still within orb. Okay, so this explains why he has lost some of the vigor and the vitality and the forthrightness of his MAGA madness, so to speak. And all of these things working together here, okay, contribute to the understanding of the expression of what is happening to somebody. This would be true of you, of anybody else, all right? I have yet to see in my 40-some years of doing charts, even my own particular chart, that you can't experience something that cannot be explained in your horoscope. Okay, you may have to look a little deeper. You may have to think a little bit more about it. You may have to meditate over it, and it will be revealed to you. But everything that is going to happen to you in your life is in that natal chart. And it sets the tone for how, what you would call successful, or how much difficulty you may go through. Okay? And the important thing there is to understand is that when you can understand and accept your horoscope and realize that there is no good, bad, right, or wrong per se, but that your life is perfect the way that it is, okay? That your life is the way that it is for a reason. And most importantly, that you begin to learn the lessons that you go through, the trials you go through, and you begin to personally go within and to deal with yourself. There is no substitute for dealing with yourself. You cannot run away from this, no matter what lifetime you're in. Okay? All right, going further a little bit here. You can see here Saturn squaring Uranus, almost exact. All right? Here's Uranus squaring Mars, less than a degree. Pluto is still opposing Venus. It's been there almost like forever. Okay? Still within orb, Pluto opposing Saturn here. So all of these things relate to this falling apart of Donald Trump, his confidence, his supposed power, the power of fear. When Biden made Kamala Harris his successor, in a sense, all right, he exercised a tremendous example of humility, to where he put the fate of the country over his own personal ego. All right. We know he's been a great president. We know from the facts that are out there. Okay. The only thing that really came down to was the fact that his age, okay, had become a big factor. And somewhere, maybe in a dream or something like that, he realized, I have to get out of the way. I have to take a risk here. Even though I know that I can beat him, or feel that I can, I have to take a risk. And when he did that, boy, did everything just kind of open up. Okay, people are excited. People are joining to want to, to canvass, to be a part of the ticket now. And it's hard to believe that Donald Trump can recover from this, and he may not. Okay, he may not. There may be enough going on here with Neptune going into his 8th house, and with this situation of Saturn here squaring his natal Uranus, his lucky planet, so to speak. Others may be holding the strings on him at this point, and they're looking at it from a standpoint of what the benefits might be, or that were and are not now. So it's a difficult situation for him. Difficult. His ego is taking a severe beating. Okay. Now, also here, all right, Eris strife and discord is in a position to square his natal Venus and also his natal Saturn. Okay, this very much has to do here with his aspirations politically and financially. And you can say an awful lot about Donald Trump's financial issues, okay, when you consider that the ruler of his midheaven here in the natal chart is conjuncted by Saturn, okay. It also says a lot about his relationship with women, okay. Saturn rules his 5th house. This is the house of sexual self-expression, the house of children, okay. Of course, Venus is the planet of love, all right. So this is an individual, when we're talking about what's going on with Saturn over here, that his personal life and his financial life are in turmoil. They're not any longer in his control the way he would like it to be. Okay? His luck is essentially starting to wane. All right? Now, there's something else here that I want to talk about on top of this, and I got the charts in the right order here. I was concerned for a minute that I didn't have them in the right order. But it's important because of the fact that this is a very important progression. And I've mentioned this before, but I'm going to mention it again. Around the 13th to the 19th, I think closer to the 19th, you'll see here that progressed Venus squares his natal Saturn. Okay? Progressed Venus, 2nd house, squaring natal Saturn in the 11th house. Okay? And again, we're talking about relationships, we're talking about money, we're talking about support. Okay? It looks like if he continues down the path that he's on, which is deny, 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 lie, 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 okay? Blame everybody else for what's going on with him, okay? That at some point he's going to self-destruct. If it doesn't happen psychologically, which obviously it's starting to, it could be something else, all right? But the fact of the matter is that fear that is not resolved ultimately leads to our self-destruction, either mentally or physically or psychologically, okay? That's the path that Donald Trump has chosen. That's the path that he's on. That's the karma in this lifetime, that he still has a choice as to what to do about it, okay? If he can wake up, if he maybe is scared enough, there is a possibility, okay, that something like that could happen. But it may cost him the realization that if he continues down the road that he's on, that he is going to lose everything. And I feel very strongly here, this could be a situation where Melania finally says, I've had enough, you're a loser, I'm out of here, good luck, buddy, bye, bye, bye. Okay, we'll know. Okay, we'll know. The beating he's taking, you know, in the press over the Kamala Waltz candidacy, all right, is driving him bananas. And again, as of yet, we don't see any cohesive plan whatsoever. But that's not unusual, because anything dark and devious with Donald Trump is going to be behind the scenes. And as you know, criminals always have the advantage. Okay? Generally, the police have to come in and deal with things after the act has been committed. All right. And I had mentioned here, I think several videos ago, his progressed midheaven is moving into a conjunction, okay, with his natal Pluto. Okay, midheaven, career, life purpose, all right, your karma, conjuncting Pluto, transformation, okay, in the house essentially of loss, at least in the Vedic chart. Okay, and if you go back to some of the charts videos I've done with the Vedic chart, where I've talked about Saturn being in the 7th house, it'll be going into the 8th house, which is the house of death, the house of transformation. Okay, and there's some other aspects there in that Vedic chart too that just really reflect upon what we're seeing happening. A man who has built his life on deception and lies and conning people, okay, and influencing people to try to take advantage of them. And finally, what has really happened, in a sense, is that with the situation of Biden putting Kamala Harris in the position that she's in, okay, that he has struck, in a sense, a death blow to Donald Trump and what he's been trying to do for 6 years. Okay. But again, I'm going to say this again, we're not at the election yet. All right. And I suspect that what's going to happen, it may be somehow related to MAGA or the people that enable, Donald Trump, this Heritage Foundation, which has this outlandish, program of debunking, or not debunking, but throwing out the Constitution, getting rid of the Department of Justice. Okay. Absolutely absurd and insane. A guarantee a situation to trigger mass chaos and maybe even a civil war if that were to happen. Okay. But America is waking up. Okay. America is waking up. All right. And that's good. That's good, because now you can put some force behind the effort to see to it that no matter what they try to do, and they will try to disrupt the elections, they'll try to disrupt the certification, they'll try to get the Supreme Court involved into it, they'll try to delay, okay, the inauguration. All right, unless something happens. Okay, so this is what's going on with his transit of Saturn in the 7th house, again, the house of marriage, all right, squaring Uranus. Inability to break free, inability to do what you want to do because others are having a part to play in what you can and cannot do. All right. All right. Lastly, here I'm going to show you something that I thought was really interesting. This is the cosmogram. This is a German system of astrology, cosmobiology. And it was devised, I think, back in the 20s, maybe even earlier than that, okay, the 1920s, because astrologers were getting frustrated with inaccurate or no birth time. And they wanted to be able to get an idea of the energy, okay, of a particular time without worrying about houses, because they are affected by birth time, not worrying so much about the transiting moon, okay. So all of these things, essentially, they decided to toss it over to the side. Let's develop a totally different chart wheel, and let's focus upon aspects, hard aspects, squares, sesquiquadrate, quadrate, inconjuncts, oppositions. And this is pretty much what a cosmogram is. It's all these things. And when I noticed this, I said, well, should I talk about this, or should I just kind of go ahead and pass off on it, because I've already talked about many things. But something here very strikingly hit me. You'll notice here, this is the inner wheel. This is the birth wheel here on the inside. This is the solar arc, the movement of the planets 1 degree 1 year since birth. And then this is the transits. When you take a look at this particular day, the 17th, okay, right about the time that progressed Venus would be squaring natal Saturn, okay, Pluto is in aspect, hard aspect, to all of these midpoints. And I mean hard, okay. It's conjuncting the midpoint of the moon and the ascendant, okay. It is conjuncting the midpoint of the moon and Mars. And it is squaring a whole slew of other midpoints. So this is an indication from this particular system of astrology of a transformational point in a person's life, in their evolution. Okay? It is the realization that something is happening that is out of your control. You are no longer in control. You can do nothing because Pluto has taken over. And you can see how this is impacting all the areas of his personal life, his thinking, his emotions, his image, okay? In some senses, his freedom, his fortune, okay? All of these things. And Saturn, okay, is also, you're talking about a total discombobulation. I mean, again, if Donald Trump does not change, if he does not learn the karmic lesson in what is happening to him and have some kind of inner transformational experience because this Neptune is going into the 8th house, which is possible. We're talking about a man that is slowly self-destroying himself. Okay? And again, this has caused some concern with his backers and with his MAGA followers. We haven't hardly heard a thing from Marjorie Taylor Greene over the last couple of weeks. We haven't heard a thing from some of these other enablers of Donald Trump. Okay? Graham in South Carolina. All right? They're all quiet because, quote, the big MAGA rambler has been quieted. He's been shut up. All right? And he's trying to find a way, no doubt, through some big event or big circumstance, to be able to right the ship. But the question is, from what we're looking at here with the charts, is can he do it now? Will he be able to do it? You know, we're talking about today, this is the 10th, and we're talking about the 13th through the 17th, and he's got another round of being blows, you know. He's going to get hit like a punching bag over the next 2 weeks. And what remains, you know, will be interesting. Will somebody else have to take the banner of the MAGA movement? Or will the MAGA movement die? We can only hope. Okay. All right. And again, just to bring this up to your attention, this is the graphic ephemeris. This is Trump's natal charts, or natal planets. This over here is the transiting planets. And right here, okay, in the month of August, you can see here Uranus squaring natal Mars. Here's natal Mars. And then again in the midst of September, okay, around the time that the judge is going to pass sentencing on Trump, Uranus is going to square that Mars again, okay? Now, if you remember, Mars rules the 9th house, the house of legality in Trump's horoscope. So the question here is, with the way things are going, okay, is this another blow? Is this a prison sentence? Is this a judgment, okay, that does stop him from being able to move forward? All right. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting. And I'm happy to be able to share my insights with you in the hopes that it gives you some clarity and understanding about what's going on and why it's going on. And that you will realize that what we're doing here, what I'm doing here with these videos and with Donald Trump, is something that can apply to your life situation in terms of understanding the whys and the wherefore of what happens to us in our lives and how we can use this information to consciously break free from the pain, the sorrow, the heartache, you know, the suffering that our mind can put us into. Okay, for those of you that make donations, for those of you that are subscribers and members that have been with me for 6 to 8 years now, thank you so much. All right. Again, those of you that make donations, whether it's monthly or occasionally, thank you. It's appreciated tremendously. And we hope that everything that we're doing is helping to uplift your spirits, to help you to understand. Okay, nothing is more painful than not to understand what's happening when something's happening that's out of your control. The level of vulnerability, the level of pain, the level that your mind goes to, the torture, the beating up that it takes you through is very damaging to our overall mental and emotional health. And the beauty of astrology is that it can put these things into perspective and let you know that there was a purpose and that there is a plan behind why things happen. Okay, and that helps you to better cope with the changes that come to all of us in our lifetime. Okay, all right. From the Love of My Life, CJ, my spiritual partner, from Riri, our fur animal. Okay, we want to thank you for again supporting our work, and we trust that you will stay with us through the election and beyond. Keep in mind that I'm thinking about teaching astrology in a live streaming type of environment with as many folks that would like to be a part of that class. What we'll do is we'll find a software that'll be able to allow me to share a screen and then allow you to be there, audio, video, to talk with me, to talk with others, okay, to learn about astrology, to fill in the blanks, okay. My initial thought is that this is not going to be a basic teaching of astrology, all right. In other words, I don't want to limit it by saying, okay, we're going to talk about the houses and the planets and this, you know, the basics. Those are things that you can learn yourself, okay, and that you probably have to learn that by yourself to begin with. All right. What I hope to do in this class is to be able to talk to you about what it's like to be an astrologer, what it's like to be doing astrology, all the little nuances, the things that you go through, the challenges of it, okay, the joys, you know, even the heartaches that are thrown in from time to time. And that doesn't mean I don't want to talk about the houses and the signs and the planets and different systems of astrology and things like that. I will talk about those things. But I want to leave the basics for you to learn if you're serious about wanting to learn astrology. And then I'll try to fill in the blanks with insights that will help you to broaden your understanding of astrology so that you understand how it works and you understand how to use it. And I think most importantly, so that you understand the limitations, okay? When you're beginning to do astrology readings, there's always that feeling of intimidation. Will I make a mistake? Do I understand this? Do I get it right? Okay? I can tell you this, for those of you that are trying to learn astrology, all through your life, depending upon the level of awareness that you have, you're going to question your readings. You're going to question your videos if you do like I do. You're going to have to sometimes almost guess what could happen, okay, rather than to be definite because you need more information. And that's okay. That's okay. If you're hoping that to be an astrologer, a professional astrologer, that you have to be perfect all the time, you'll never do astrology. You'll never do astrology, okay? And when you don't understand, be honest enough to say, I don't know. That's very simple. I don't know, all right? There are very, very, very few astrologers in the world that have the clarity to be able to accurately, totally assess the situation and it not be somewhat off target, okay? That should make you feel good if you're learning astrology, because you don't have to be perfect, okay? The things that you often have to deal with are the misconceptions of society about what you do, who you are, why you're doing it, okay? And that's why it's important to be able to have a relationship with your clients, okay? Be sure that you assess where they are, what their level of understanding is, and do your very best not to mislead them. Okay, again, from my spiritual partner CJ and myself, thank you so much. We appreciate your support. We send our love to you. We know we feel your love back to us. For those of you that comment and that share your appreciation of our work. All right. And my next video is probably going to be on Kamala Harris and Tim Walz and the Democratic National Convention. I might compare their charts with the actual convention day itself to see how things might go. If you'll remember the video I did on it in the locality of Chicago for that particular day, looked pretty troublesome. Okay, and like I said, it remains to be seen whether or not that situation will be burdensome free or whether or not the MAGA group's got something planned for that day. We'll see. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great weekend.